We are the Abiding Dudes. I'm Adam. This is Skits.
How we doing?
Cal. Stay hello, Cal.
Hey there.
All right. And our special guest for this week is Matt. Matt, why don't you introduce yourself?
Thank you for having me. My name is Matt Perkins, and I'm happy to be abiding with you fine dudes this afternoon.
Awesome. And let's just let the fine people know where we're coming from. I am up here in Northern California, just outside of a little town called Nevada City, abiding here with my family. Skits, what about you?
I am unfortunately abiding in a small town in southern Indiana, just north of Evansville.
Fucking A. I've driven through Evansville. It's as I recall, it was tire shops and closed down businesses. Nah.
Most people only know Indiana by Gary, Indiana, which is what Evansville is becoming quickly.
No fun.
Oh,
Okay. And Cal, what about you? Where are you at these days?
I am coming to y'all from beautiful Las Cruces, New Mexico, in southern New Mexico, about 45 minutes north of El Paso, Texas.
All right. Beautiful. Matt Perkins, what about you, buddy?
I am abiding with a stranger in the Alps. But seriously, Adam, I'm actually probably not too far from you. I am abiding in Northern California as well, just outside of Sacramento.
Our fucking A. We should get lunch.
I'm near the In-N-Out Burger.
There you go. Those are good burgers, dude.
My dude.
Right. Well, we are here now, and we are here to have a conversation about life, the universe, and Dudeism. So I guess I'll just give a little backstory here to kind of set the stage for everyone. I have written a book so recently that it's still in the Kickstarter, hasn't been sent to the publisher yet phase, but all but two illustrations are done and all the pages are written, mostly formatted. And the reason that I wrote this book is because I've been a fan of Big Lebowski for about 20 years now or so. And for some reason, nothing else in my life from 20 years ago has remained. I feel like I'm a completely different person, but somehow I still think this is the greatest and funniest movie ever made. And I'm a big fan of movies. So I kind of questioned what was it about this movie, and I realized it's the lessons. It's really, there are a lot of deeper lessons in this movie. And so that means I'm a big believer also in Dudeism as a religion. You know, every religion needs those deeper lessons on how to live your life in a way that, you know, sucks less than no lessons at all. So anyway, I had some different ideas, I realized, than the original creators of Dudeism, and I thought to kind of expand the conversation a bit. And so that brings us to this podcast, which is, I'm hoping, a way to expand the conversation around Dudeism. Skits and Cal and I have been having a men's group on a more or less weekly basis for a little while now, maybe about a year or so.
Yeah,
I think we're right out of here.
Yeah. So we decided to evolve the conversation since we've been enjoying it, and to include a special guest each week with something new to say. So we're not just saying the same shit and, you know, circle jerking manually. But you know, we thought that Dudeism is a fascinating conversation to talk about. And we hope that through this conversation, people's lives can just be a little bit better, you know, a few more strikes than gutters. So here we are, and I talked to Matt, and he's kind of in the same boat of, you know, just having watched the dude for a long time and having drawn some deeper lessons from it. So we're going to get into that conversation. But seeing as how this is the first episode here, and you don't really know any of us, dear listener, we're gonna introduce ourselves as hosts, and, you know, maybe refer back to this at some point, but I'll let Skits go first, and, you know, just a little bit about, you know, how you came to Dudeism, why the hell you're here, and, you know, who the fuck is this guy, man? You know?
Well, for the first time in my life, I finally get to say it, and I thought that the day would never come. religion saved my life, and the religion that I chose and that abided with me the best was Dudism. I'm telling you. So I come from a background of roughneck, criminal, I mean, just doing dumb, wicked stuff, all for the anger and the rage of it. Man, when a dude gets old, it's not worth it anymore. And I was lost in myself and lost in drug addiction and all kinds of stuff. I've always loved The Big Lebowski, and I was actually trying to find it on VHS. I just wanted a copy of it, I don't know, 10 years ago or something like that. Well, you know,
Amazed you
Facebook and
still have a VHS player. That's
I
impressive.
didn't. I just wanted the VHS. I just wanted it on VHS.
Wow.
So you know how Facebook and Google and all that stuff is. It popped up with Dudism. I looked into it. I thought, man, this sounds like my cup of tea. So I bought the Dude Chang. I read it, and I have been spreading my Dudist ways ever since.
Love it, man. Love it. And I just got to say, yeah, these conversations this past year have been just awesome with Skits. He thinks about things in a very different way than I do. And that's really what we're here. You know, we're here to talk about just different ways to see things, because it's a spice of life. So Cal, why don't you share your story a little bit? What's your deal, man?
I'm kind of in the same boat that at least mentally, Dudism saved my life. I saw The Big Lebowski when it first came out in theaters back in March of 1998. Years later, I learned that Dudism existed. And at first, I kind of signed up and got ordained just on a lark. And then I went through a lot of personal trauma, got a divorce. My daughter went to live with my ex. And that was when I picked up and read the Dudeist. And it got me thinking that, you know, I really don't have to stress myself out over the things I can't control. And by kind of giving up on the idea of control, it helped me feel more in control. So it's made me a much happier person, much more well-rounded. I'm not a little ball of anxiety anymore. And it's really made my life a lot more tolerable.
Hell yeah. That's beautiful, man. That's beautiful. Thank you for that. So Matt, tell us why you're here. What's your story?
Excuse me. So I became an ordained Dudeist priest in the beginning of 2020, the start of COVID, and the world just seemed out of control. Everything that we knew was gone. The way we knew things had changed, and that's so much to process, and it's so much to grapple with. And so I'm a big fan of The Big Lebowski. I've watched it on and off for 20 years since over 20 years since it came out. And I found out about Dudism, and I became an ordained Dudeist priest, mainly as a joke for fun, because I'm like, oh, I'm a Big Lebowski fan. I get this. I didn't realize how meaningful that would become to me, though, because as Callum said, it's about letting go and not becoming that ball of anxiety. And I learned that with people stockpiling supplies during the pandemic. And also now that I'm in my mid-30s, I'm realizing there's so much that I could have done different in my life. Not necessarily good or bad, but just there's so many things I could have done different. It's like, I need to let that go. I need to just abide. And it's not giving up. It's not being a nihilist, but it's, just accepting that the world is bigger than you.
Yeah. Yeah. And you said that in the, in kind of our initial conversation. I was wondering, because that to me, of all the things you said, kind of struck me the most. I think understanding and embracing that life is bigger than you. So let's talk a bit about like how you see that in the movie. Like what was kind of your, like, maybe when you watch it and rewatch it, like what's that part you go back to in your mind that's like just sort of appreciating, where you're at?
I know it's meant as a joke, or I shouldn't say it's meant as a joke. It's taken as a joke in the movie. But throughout the movie, Lebowski says, I just wanted my rug back. I mean, that is his motivation through everything. Someone broke into his house, peed on the dude's rug. It really tied the room together.
Right.
And he just wanted it back. That was his motivation. And it's not that he was trying to find the missing girl or save the world. Dude just wanted his rug back. And I admire the simplicity of that. And the just, that's what he wanted. That's all he wanted. And especially as you get older and you have a family and just life happens, it's like, it's very easy to fall into the trap of, I want the new car every 2 years. I got a pay raise, so we need to buy a bigger house. Right. And the simplicity of, I just want my rug back, really speaks to me about just keeping your life simple and not cluttering it unnecessarily.
I love that. And so for the listeners because you probably don't know, I actually live in a spiritual community, and the sort of spiritual founder of the community, one of the famous things he said was simple living and high thinking, meaning thinking about like high principles, things that uplift your consciousness. Simple living and high thinking is the way to true happiness, simplifying your life. So I absolutely resonate with everything you're saying. I love that. And I would maybe to kind of piggyback off that, another thing you said is the film is ultimately about friendship. The dude, Walter, and Donnie are navigating a world of deception and intrigue, but remain true to each other. So I absolutely agree with that. And I think that's kind of when you're talking about the larger lessons in life, or the larger importances in life, right? What's really important, breaking it down to the simple things. The movie sort of points out that friendship is one of those things. The dude doesn't really have much in his house. He doesn't have a great car, obviously. He just he just drives around and goes bowling. But like, he has these friendships that add this richness and this, I guess drama is a form of richness, but like, still, it's like he has he goes to what's his name, Marty's Cycle. And like just there's so many opportunities when you have close friends and when you have people that you're seeing on a regular basis for growth, for self-reflection, all these things. And it's not something you can get from a bunch of money or a lot of success or whatever. So
no, and going back to the idea of simplicity, one of the scenes that really speaks to me in the movie, until the nihilists come in and fuck everything up, is that in the middle of all of this drama and all of the shit raining down on him, the dude is completely at peace in his bathtub listening to whale songs.
Yes, he is
completely at peace with his surroundings and himself. And to me, that's beautiful. There's so much drama and turbulence in his life, but he finds that simple pleasure for himself, and it makes everything better for a few moments.
Right.
Well, I mean, and even when Maud and her goons come in, knock him out, he's laying on the floor listening to bowling. Not a care in the world.
Yeah.
Yep. And that's his achievement. That's, one of the things I talk about in the book is a way to achieve is just visualizing yourself doing something. But how simple is that? Just to visualize just bowling well, That's it. So yeah, one other thing. Oh man, I thought of something else in that. Matt, it sounded like you had something to say.
Actually, just to again touch on the friendship aspect of it, there's a really emotional scene at the end. Walter is very tough. He puts on this facade, but after Donnie passes and they go to spread his ashes, and the dude is shaking the ashes out of his shirt and such because of the breeze. The dude kind of pushes Walter a little bit because he's frustrated with him, and Walter just hugs him. And you can tell the grief that he's feeling because they lost their friend, and that connection they all had, they were there for each other. Even though Walter was always telling Donnie to shut the fuck up, he knew he's never going to get to tell Donnie to shut the fuck up ever again.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Damn, I'd never thought of it like in that sense. Man.
Yeah.
Oh, the heartbreak all over again.
I know.
It's so deep, man.
I thought this was going to be such a fun thing. Ow.
Hey, we'll get there, man. It's a roller coaster, right?
Oh, there's the gutters. Oh,
There's the gutters.
But okay, so let's go to that then. What more of a gutter in the world is there than having your head forcefully slammed into your own fucking toilet, right? One of the things that the Dudeist books talk about is how, like, you probably don't remember this because it's kind of a throwaway chapter, but like one of the chapters talks about how houses were essentially built around the bathroom, around the toilet. We weren't shitting in holes anymore. We actually have this invention with plumbing and a little lever, and it goes away. Wow, it's amazing. Right? And so you build a whole house around it so you can be near it. It's just convenient. It's right there. And I lost my fucking train of thought on that. Where do we start? No, to go back to what more of a gutter is there than that? And in the midst of this gutter, get the dude getting his head slammed into the toilet. My favorite line in the movie, it's down there somewhere. Let me tell you. Look, like, there's no way that he thinks of something that clever and that, like, a backhanded, like a slap in the face. Like, all he could do, was say something. And like, he kind of, verbally, like, slaps that guy in the face. Like, what do you expect from me? And then, to realize that, like, to have the presence of mind, he has to have some real deep connection within himself. He's not living on his edges. Like, he's really living from his center. Just, the world is okay, living without fear. He's definitely not a ball of anxiety. And there's been this discussion. This is interesting too. I wonder if there's something here, but there's been a discussion online recently about how the dude, like, throughout the movie is not, like, the whole movie is about him flipping out, essentially. Right. And one of the things that I find fascinating is, like, you realize that the movie is 2 hours, right? We don't get a ton of backstory. We don't ever have vignettes from, like, earlier life of his. It's just 2 hours of his life in his 40 something years. You know what I mean? So, like, if you think about that, we only can derive a little bit from the dude. And what I thought was interesting is deriving where he goes wrong in getting upset. Like by the end of the movie, he's basically admitting, I could have just been sitting here with pee stains on my rug right now. Right. And so if you think about it, he realized in that moment, the only place I went wrong was listening to Walter, that, like, someone needed to pay for this. That I need to be the one to enact, like, the karma of the universe, right? And if you're going with the flow, you're going with the flow of karma, right? Sort of that yin yang symbol, like, it's just all in balance. It's all there, right? And so that's what I think is interesting, is, like, is this fundamentally a movie about how the dude is not chill? But I think if you're a Dudeist, you have to reject that. I think that's just people coming from the outside saying, well, look, he flipped out the whole movie. Well, yeah, but look at the rest of it. So anyway, any thoughts on that?
The line, "You are being very undude," would not be spoken so many times in the movie if it was a regular fucking occurrence.
Right.
Bingo. That's very, very good.
But that's, woo. Drop the mic.
Because he could have easily been, like, the dude that you don't want to fuck with, but he's not, man. He's just the dude, and you're being very undude, man. Just bold.
Right. You're being very un yourself. So his self must be the opposite of how he was most of the movie.
Yeah, and I think a lot of the movie too is about how the external world tries to drag him outside of his center, outside of his dudeness. Basically, almost everything that happens in the movie is initiated by a different character. Wu and the other guy went and peed on his rug. The dude didn't invite them in. He had nothing to do with them. The Big Lebowski offered him money to recover Bunny. That wasn't the dude's idea. All of this kind of gets brought into him from outside sources, and really that's the stressor on him. It's nothing inside himself.
Right.
Yeah, Walter hypes him up to go see the Big Lebowski. Maude comes to see him. I mean, he eventually does go. Well, no, he got grabbed by the driver to go see Maude. So yeah. He should have just quit going to his fucking apartment. He needed to move immediately.
Yeah, but
After the
come on,
second kidnapping,
Hey.
I'd have never gone back.
who else would have gone to see Marty's cycles?
I'd have been staying with Marty.
He did try to put a chair in front of the door, though, to be fair.
And
That
that
might have been the-
awful California
No.
architecture.
If we're still talking about like things that after 20 years still make me crack the fuck up, it's that moment where the door opens outward. Like that, like never stops making me laugh. Like, oh, fucking hell. But no, I wanted to say one thing though about how like the different parts of the movie are initiated by everyone. So here's my theory on this. Maybe you guys could comment on my harebrained theory. So my theory is that, we're all like, okay, just to back up, my belief is that we're all spiritual beings in physical bodies having a temporary physical experience, right? Like we all know we're going to die one day. So this is just birth to death, kind of a temporary blip in our larger arc of consciousness. And we're come in with like egos of different clarity, shall we say. So one of my spiritual teachers likened it to waves, right? Waves are a part of the ocean, but the wave can only get so big, big ego, big presence, big like energy, whatever on the planet. And then, it crashes. The goal of spiritual practice is to get very close to the surface, right? So as backstory, what I believe is that different people in the world are kind of manifesting these different, we'll just say levels of ego, right? Some people have very like defined egos, like Donald Trump or like Jeff Bezos, right? They're just this like figure and they're like business and leadership and money and whatever, right? Whatever you believe about these individuals. And then there are people who are just very, very humble, just have a very low profile. And I think that's like the dude. He has kind of like a low ego. And so my theory on the movie with the dude is that because he's such like a wave that's very close to the ocean, let's say, he's sort of just literally going with the flow. And I think people kind of recognize that he's like just going with whatever. And so they use him, right? You realize he is used constantly throughout this movie. He's used by the Big Lebowski, used by Maude for multiple reasons, used by like Bunny tries to use him, offers to use him, as a means to be a human cash machine in essence. Like, but it's just because that's kind of what happens. Like when we go along in our lives and we're like, okay, universe, like I give up control. Right? In a way, like we're going to get tested by the universe, right? And it's going to be like, okay, do you really mean that? Are you really giving up control? Are you really giving up control? Because like, to me, the spiritual masters are the ones that have just completely surrendered every sense of separate identity from infinite consciousness. Like that's all. And we're all connected to that, but we're like sort of under these layers of, we'll call it misunderstanding. So anyway, that's my theory. Like just that everyone uses the dude just because he has done so much work to sort of be this like chill, go with the flow kind of guy. And then the lesson that he's being taught in this is like, don't worry about so much about a fucking rug. It's just a rug, but it's one of the last things. And the other last thing he has is his attachment to his Johnson. Right? You notice how much fear he has. Like he doesn't really fear
strong attachment.
Right. Like he doesn't really fear the wealth of the Big Lebowski. He doesn't really fear the nihilists, like when they're kind of like threatening him with, whatever. Like even when they had the marmot, he's like, oh, nice marmot, like whatever. You guys don't scare me. You have a cricket bat and you're all dressed in black, like whatever. Like even when they're there with a burning car and they have their swords, he's not that afraid. Like he's in his fucking ninja pose, right? But when the marmot gets near his Johnson, right? What does he do? Flips the fuck out, right? So it's just like, that's kind of what I feel like the universe kind of does to all of us. If we're looking at this movie in a larger spiritual sense, it's like the universe will sort of chip away at whatever ego identifications you have until you let them go. And once you let them go, it'll start chipping away at the next one. But at least you'll be free of that one, And sometimes people only get free of like one or two big of these things a lifetime, or fulfill one or two big desires, and then they can go on to the next desire. But for me, it's just kind of attachment and desire. The dude was attached to his Johnson. He's attached to his, his rug. And so it's like, okay, is that worth more than your happiness? Is that worth all this drama?
Well,
Probably
I mean, it does seem from the movie that jerking off manually is one of his simple pleasures in life.
Right.
So
That's a man of simple, White Russian, little J, simple man.
Yeah.
Same car for the last 25 years at that point in time.
Yeah, exactly. That's pretty impressive. What do you think?
That's
Matt?
something that I would love to see. I would love to see the dude at a mechanic shop. Come on, man. It's just, a couple tires, you know what I mean? Doug, $80. Come on. Let me post-date you a check.
What you said about the ego and living as a spiritual being, how I am interpreting it is somewhat similar. Of it's living your authentic self. Like when we're first introduced to the dude, the man has no airs about him. He is in his bathrobe at a Ralph's buying creamer, half and half, and with a check for 69 cents. I mean,
and a post-dated check, no less.
Exactly. So he is very comfortable with who he is. And when everyone else that he meets, everyone else in his life, probably with the exception of Donnie, no one else is really living their authentic life. Like Walter is still living Vietnam. And as the dude, what the fuck does any of this have to do with Vietnam? And when he pulls the gun out on Smokey, Smokey, this is not Nam, this is bowling. There are rules. It's Walter can't let that go. That is his identity. Right. And the Big Lebowski himself, he's a fraud. He can't run an ice cream stand, but he has to give this air of success and importance. And the dude's just like, whatever. And so the dude is living his authentic self while everyone around him isn't. And that's something that I think we could really all take in our lives, the chipping away the ego. It's, am I buying this car because I really like this car? Or am I buying it because I want my neighbors to be impressed? That's
exactly. And it goes, that exact thought goes in different forms. So for me, I'm the youngest of 9 children. Do you have any idea how long it took for me to chip all of my siblings' dumb shit off of me?
Right. I think I might be misquoting it, but I heard this quote recently that was like, if you don't know who you are, the world will tell you.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
And I fully believe that. Your parents are going to tell you, your teachers are going to tell you, the people who hate you are going to tell you, or who hate themselves and take it out on you and make you think it's you,
But to clarify, it is not always what they say.
Yeah.
That you're going to learn from, you know what I mean? Like if somebody calls you a piece of shit, that doesn't mean that you are a piece of shit, but they think that for some reason. Why? Could be a good thing, could be a bad thing. I just don't want anybody that's listening to this to be like, damn, really? I'm all that?
No. That's what I mean is like, we take it on as though we are. And we take the wrong lesson from it. Like in my life, like I've taken so many wrong lessons from, because like, for example, I was like a hyperactive ADHD kid and I was a boy with a lot of energy. And I see all these boys with lots of energy. And guess what? They can't sit in a fucking classroom for 8 fucking hours a day. Forget about it. And so I was just acting out. But then when I got like yelled at, scolded, punished, berated, whatever, from adults who can't control their own shit, then I took that on. I was like, oh, okay. Oh, I guess I must be, maybe if I make myself less, is that cool for you? Okay. I'll just be less. I'll be less, and so I became this other person, this persona, and you just put it on and then you survive with less drama, but that's the thing. As an adult, we have much more of an ability to choose, but we're still dealing with all this shit from childhood, so it's kind of a trip. But I think that's what's cool about the dude and people like him that we can look up to, are people who have kind of overcome that aspect and become very much themselves. And so, yeah, so I think one of the ways that we do that, you know, and that's one of the fun things in the book is just talk about like what makes you dude, you know. And so I talk about like authentic dude nature being like that which connects you to source, like to source energy, to the universe, God, whatever you want to call it. Like, and I also kind of talk about Dudism a little bit. This was Nick's actually idea. This was Skitz's brilliant idea that I still think about all the time. But like Dudism as an add-on, you know, like Dudism is its own thing, absolutely. But when it was birthed, it was an add-on to Taoism. And then people have kind of taken those ideas and sort of it's very, very easy to adapt it to kind of whatever you're doing. Like if you grew up like sort of Christian, like believing some of it, you know, like Christian, but not like it wasn't terrible, you know, like church was boring, but like, you know, you still had some respect for that Jesus guy, you know, you kind of believed in him, but not necessarily the people who were talking about him all the time, you know, the type. Anyway, it's very easy. And especially with Buddhism too, and sort of non-theistic traditions like that, you can add that on. But I'm of the mind that like, you don't need to have it be non-theistic. It can just sort of be generally agnostic. You know, there maybe is, maybe not. But like, I don't know how it can be non-theistic, but then also acknowledge like a web of connection to all of life. You know what I mean? Like, and then also like zooming out to like the whole universe. Like, what do you think this whole fucking thing is? You know, like that's just what I like people to think about and talk about. And I love those like squishy conversations because, you know, we don't know. I'm not a spiritual master, but I like to think that I learn from them, you know, and there are many, but like I like to think that there are true teachings and there are false teachings. And if we follow true teachings, it takes us more authentically to ourselves, to our like dude nature, you know, where we're just dude with the universe. Like that's out there. I got inner peace in here, you know, I'm good. And so I think like in terms of simplicity of life, having like a hobby like bowling, having like a strict drug regimen, you know, the way to take care of yourself, and having a way to kind of let things go, you know, a way to just say, fuck it, let's go bowling. It doesn't solve all your problems. You're still going to be grieving Donnie next week. You know, it's still going to suck, but like, you know, you just kind of shake off today, you know, wherever
If
you are.
any of you guys are artists of any kind, carpentry, anything like that, you always reach that I gotta walk away point. I gotta walk away from this. Like, fuck you. I'll be back in 10 minutes when I don't hate you. You know what I mean? That's your go smoke a J and sit in the bathtub. You know what I mean? Taking as much information as you possibly can. I'm not a spiritual person, like at all. I don't know why. I tried. It didn't work. I don't know. Maybe I needed to try a different brand. But the theory of everything, the toe, that was the hook. That was the hook for me. Oh my God, that makes so much more sense now. I finally understand the butterfly effect.
Yeah.
Like that was what drove it home. Was I didn't have to be connected to anything outside of myself consciously, because subconsciously I'm connected. I don't have to worry about that.
Hell yeah. Whoa.
Very, very much. Very
Yeah.
good.
Wow. No, and you know, Skits, I would say honestly that I think you are a spiritual being, just not of the brand that you've been given. But like this is I truly see Dudism as a spiritual path. Exactly what you said. It's just a different toe. You know, you and me just have different toes, but they're just, and maybe it's on a different foot, maybe it's on the same foot, but it's like we can still communicate, you know, we can still understand each other, and I can respect that you're into what you're into and you have always respected what I'm into, you know what I mean? Like that's what's been so cool about this, and what I'm hoping to like give an example of, you know, to the world, like show that it's possible. Because okay, this is like a little personal and also a little like off topic, but I think in the general way like people talk to other people is like, if you disagree with me, like fuck you, like you're not even human, you don't even deserve respect, like who do you think you are? You know what I mean? You're an idiot. You're ignorant. Like, you're not worth my time. And then, oh, someone who like kind of agrees with you, but kind of disagrees with you. Maybe we can talk for a while, but we're never going to understand each other. But I feel like the conversations we have are not about trying to convince anybody of anything. And because of that, we end up taking a lot more from each other. You know what I mean? Like if you tried to convince me that like Satanism was better than, you know what I mean, than like Christianity or whatever, you know what I mean? Because it's about being a good person, and modern Christianity has become Christian nationalism, which is tied into white supremacy, which is tied into like controlling people to no end. You know what I mean? So it's like, if you want to
Temple of
have that,
Satan's out here fucking busting ass doing good
right,
shit. But
right. Well, Satan's like donating food to poor children. You know what I mean? Like, how can you anyway? So like, and saving women from like having pregnancies that they could never handle in their lives. Anyway, I digress. My point is that because we just have conversations about like what is like deep and meaningful to us personally, even though it's so very different, like I've taken so much from what you've said, you know, even though you think very differently about the world, it's because you are very good at expressing what's meaningful to you. And so that's kind of what I'm hoping in this podcast. If we can kind of like set the tone with this first episode, I hope this can become, and by the way, if you're listening to this and you're like, I have things to say about Dudeism, fucking hit me up. My email or whatever. I'm sure there's a way to get in touch on the podcast itself. But I'm just saying, like, we want to have these kinds of conversations where we're bringing in these new ideas and just helping people to just abide. And, you know, what abide means to all of us, I think, you know, we can kind of agree on this, or chime in if you have a different idea, but it's just kind of like going with the flow, you know, is just letting things go, being okay with, you know, life being strikes and gutters, ups and downs, you know, birthday cake and dog shit, you know, like it's all both, it's all one, it's all everything. And I think the sort of living in that is abiding, you know. So any thoughts?
I have something I wanted to share. So I was, ever since you guys were gracious enough to invite me onto the podcast, I've really been doing some deep thinking about life, because I'll be 35 this year. And Callum, you and I may not be in the exact same situation as far as reconstructing our identity, but I'm realizing, you know, what do I want to be going forward? Because I'm living with my fiance now and her son from a previous marriage. I never wanted to get married. I never wanted to have kids. And it's like, I'm living a totally different life now. And I'm thinking, what do I want to do? I mean, obviously they're a part of my life and I want them to be, but it's like, you know, it's just, my life is very different now than what I thought it would be 10 years ago. And thinking about how I can align that with Dudeism. And I think there's two types of people in this world. And I know that's a very binary view, but please hear me out. You're at the top of a mountain. There's the whitewater rapids on one side and the lazy river on the other. Some people want to take those whitewater rapids. They want to be in the raft. They want to be paddling. They want to be focused on the rocks and the churning water, staying away from the edges and the high intensity, you know, rain of it all right here and now. And then there's people that want to take the lazy river. They want to lay in their inner tube, have a beverage, you know, smoke a J. As an aside, I've never tried marijuana in my life. I know as a Big Lebowski fan, that surprises a lot of people. I'm a cigar smoker. I've been a cigar smoker since I was 19 years old.
Yeah.
I'm actually going to go have one after this, but, you know, have a cigar and look at the birds, see the trees, maybe talk to people along the way, maybe not. You ultimately get to the same destination. And I think the fundamental difference between those two types of people, when you're going down the whitewater rapids, you feel like you're in control. You know, you're staying away from danger. You're navigating, you're focused right here and now. Whereas with the lazy river, you're looking at the sky. You take a nap, but you still ultimately, you just trust the path to take you where you need to go. And ultimately you will arrive at the base of the mountain at the same place, which, you know, is the hereafter, or, you know, it's the end of the line for our mortal journey. But that's what I think Dudeism ultimately is it's the people who choose the lazy river and know that they'll get where they're going eventually, but they're going to relax and enjoy it while they're on their way.
Damn.
Yeah.
Some of us don't like water or people, and we're just going to stay on that mountain.
I mean, but that to me is one of the beautiful things about Dudism is there is no one answer for how do you abide. It's what is peaceful for you, what brings joy to you.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. And what helps you come back to just yourself, like it's hard to describe. I mean, that's one of the things in Taoism that they explain very well, that I think, the original Dudeist literature kind of explained very well, is in a way, there is no way to talk about this. If you're really looking at it, like, it just has to be felt. It has to be experienced deeply. And so, like, I can talk about like being yourself, but someone who's like deeply entrenched in their own facade might just hear, oh, I need to be better at that facade. For the Big Lebowski, I need to be better at appearing rich, but like, what I mean is truly, authentically, yourself. And that feels very calm. It feels very joyful. You feel like uplifted. It's just like being in a good mood for no reason. And that's kind of what Dudism encourages, is even to like do things for no reason, just have a lazy day, just relax, because what that does is just sort of shifts your perspective on life. Did you become like less of a person because you're not like achieving, you're not a business achiever, like, no, but like, that's what a lot of people, myself included, think that we need to do to sort of be happy, to be fulfilled, is to go, get that wife, get that car, get that job, And so, Matt, like you were talking about, just like having like sort of playing the role, but also being yourself. You're still flowing down the river. Like, you still got to be that fiance to your lady friend. You still got to be that, stepdad, whatever you are, to that little girl or boy, whatever. But like, you can still be very much yourself while you're playing these roles. You don't need to become, that. So yeah, I think that's kind of what I think, coming back to this movie again and again, it also helps you to laugh at yourself, when you're getting too uptight, when your thinking's too uptight, can help you just make it crack. But I want to say one thing though. But you said that you've never tried marijuana, but you still like The Big Lebowski. See, I think that definitively proves this is not a stoner movie, because I think there is,
Bingo.
a lot of debate, about, is this a stoner movie? Is this cinema verte or whatever they say? I've always thought,
as an avid stoner, it's totally a stoner movie. My mom's never smoked pot. She loves Pineapple Express.
Right. So there's still, there's still room for people to laugh at the stoner comedy, even not as stoners, like, I wasn't really smoking that much when I loved Harold and Kumar. I thought that was the funniest movie I've ever seen. But anyway, I digress. But yeah, Cal, did you have any thoughts on that? I'm gonna put you on the spot.
Well, I think that with regards to it being a stoner movie, I think, there's a few times that we see the dude do a J in the movie, but it's not frequent. It's not omnipresent. It's not like the defining trait of his character.
Right.
The defining trait of the dude is doing what will relax him and what will bring him joy in a moment.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes it's a J, sometimes it's a White Russian, sometimes it's laying in a bathtub,
Mm-hmm. Exactly. Yeah. And I think that's kind of a great way to look at Dudism, is just those moments, and like relishing those moments, planning your life around those moments. You know what I mean? Like, the dude, when he brings out the change for Walter at the coffee shop, like a joint falls out of his pocket, like he's got his medicine on him, so I just think that's very dude, to just know like that this world is kind of fun. And I talk about this in the movie. So this was not brought up in Dudism anywhere that I saw, but I thought it was actually very significant that he had sunglasses on him at all times. And I think what that showed is that he is a very sensitive person. You know what I mean? Like, the stimulation of the world is often just too much for him. And he cares so much about himself that he knows that if he just puts these sunglasses on, it helps stem the flow of all that like hyper overstimulating information. And some people are like this. Some people, like, nothing bothers them, you know, they can go to sleep in a hailstorm. But like with the dude, and I think a lot of people who like this movie, it's like myself included, like you're very sensitive to certain things. Like for me, it's noise. If there's just a lot of noise around, sometimes it's clarifying, but usually it's like, I need to go outside, you know, I need to like sit next to a river for a second, you know. But like with the dude, he realizes that like there's a way to kind of return to yourself. And that's what the sunglasses are. And, you know, having his medicine as well is like, he's getting yelled at by the Big Lebowski, who's like, you know, slamming his fist down. And you notice that's the minute it changes. The dude is like, my wife is not the issue here. You know, that's the minute the whole thing shifts. And then he puts on the sunglasses and then he just, he
Checks out.
Yeah, checks out, adopts his fuck it attitude. If you're going to cross that line, sir, I have no business with you. He's probably already formulating the plan to take any rug in the house, you know. And that's the thing. Like, if he wasn't in his center, if he was like, if he was thinking about like, oh, this rich fuck, this whole fucking thing, you know, like Walter, like if he's getting into his Walter, he's like, this rich motherfucker, just getting all mad at him. There's no way he has any room in his brain to think of that genius fucking idea. Like, how many of us, when we saw that movie for the first time, was like, oh my God, that is fucking genius. You know what I mean?
Yeah, the dude's a gangster.
That's
People
what I
skip
mean.
that over.
Brant has no idea. And he's very trusting. The dude said it with a lot of confidence. He was swaggering out of there. You know what I mean? Like, that was such a baller move, such a genius move, such a badass. And so it's like, dude, if he weren't in his center, if he weren't in himself, there's no way that idea pops into his head. You know, if he's holding a grudge against the Big Lebowski, but no, he just shuts off. He just checks out. He said, to hell with this. You know, yeah, that's his answer for everything. Because if he doesn't say fuck it to pretty much everything, he's holding on to everything. You know, and that's what a lot of people do. We hold on to things and hold grudges. And, you know, we're mad at the government or that other driver or like our wives or husbands, you know. And it's like, you know, it's like this one comedian said, he's like, never understood men who beat their wives. It's like keying your own car. It's your car. You know? You know? So it's like, and there's this line in this Weezer song that I love. It's like, what is it? It's something like all my favorite people make me mad, so mad. You know, and it's like, you're literally, your favorite people make you the most upset in your life. And I think that's because you let them most near your authenticity. And, you know, getting back to my earlier point, there's the universe just sort of showing you what's in front of your authenticity. Like, that's what I believe, that like life is happening for us in a beneficial way, as much as it sucks, you know, but it's all just to realize at the end of life, or at the end of however many lives, to realize that like this is all just a show. You know, the story is ludicrous. You know, it doesn't really matter. You know, what really matters is just that you're yourself. Whatever being the dude means to you, whatever makes you feel most centered, most yourself, and most ready to just take the gutters and strikes of life with grace, you know, with a fuck it kind of attitude, but not like a nihilistic attitude. You know, I think that's why the nihilists are the antagonists of this movie, because like the dude doesn't believe in nothing. You know, he's not saying fuck it to everything. He's not saying fuck it to friendship. He's not saying fuck it to relaxation. You know, like he picks very carefully the things that he wants in his life. And so, yeah, that'll be the rug that ties the whole episode together, is like the simplicity. If we can find that simplicity in our lives, then that is our dudism, whatever else that means. You know, it doesn't have to look a certain way. You don't have to be a stoner or a drinker or whatever. Like, I personally don't really like alcohol. You know, I tried a White Russian a few times. It's pretty good, but like, I'm just not a big fan of how alcohol makes me feel. Other people are very different than that. So, you know, it's just like, and that's too what I love. Like, I made up the 4 pillars of dudism. One of the pillars is a strict drug regimen. Cause like, who cares what you're doing? But as long as it's something that's like benefiting you and you're actually looking at it that way, then, you know, smoke your J, you know, fucking A, man. So
Fucking A.
I'm looking at the clock and we have not too long left. This is now around an hour. If we ended now, we can go a little over, whatever. So let's go around the proverbial Zoom room here and get some final thoughts. Skits, what's your final thoughts for all the good people listening today?
Oh man, my final thoughts on Dudism. At least for today, I want to end with my appreciation for Dudism is it's all encompassing of everything, everybody. I know that a lot of other spiritual paths that somebody can follow, religions, whatever, everybody always says they're very encompassing and that you deal with these certain sects of people, and it's not that way. The arguments that I see in Dudism groups are some of the softest, nicest arguments. Like, as long as politics don't get brought up, which thankfully most of those disappear pretty quickly. Thank you, admins. It's it's funny to read through them and it's funny to be part of them. And I can appreciate that. Myself as a person, I'm not naturally like that. And I like something so lighthearted that can bring me to that.
Perfect. Thank you, Skits. What do you say, Cal?
I just wanted to kind of echo that I'm very glad that Dudism exists. To anybody who's listening who just looks at it as something for smoking weed and drinking White Russians, I encourage you to read a little more, because it to me has been a major assist in finding inner peace in my life. We live in a turbulent world, and whatever you can find to bring you inner peace is a good thing. And I encourage people to read as much as they can about it and try to figure out how to apply it in your daily life and find your inner peace.
Oh, dude.
You said it, man.
Fucking A.
Fucking A. All right, Matt Perkins, our special guest of the day. What say you?
I think it's amazing that a movie about bowling made over 20 years ago, almost 25 years ago, is still relevant and still has such a devoted fan base. And I think it's amazing that a single movie that didn't even perform very well at the box office, I mean, we're not talking Avatar 2 here, but a single movie has managed to bring so many people together over the course of its lifetime. And the roles are still so iconic to the actors. In fact, John Goodman has said on record that his favorite role is Walter Sobchak. He said, that is the most fun I've had on a movie set. And so for it to breed this philosophy, religion, just way of life is amazing that people are able to take so much from this and find so much value of it. And the fact that the four of us are talking about it right now, and I don't know about you guys, I'm having a hell of a lot of fun. I'm really kind of bummed out that we're ending at the hour. But just the fact that it's in such a divisive time that a single obscure movie has still, or I shouldn't say obscure, but just a single cult hit film has managed to unite us in a way. Like, I have nothing in common with the rest of you gentlemen. No, I mean, you have nothing in common with me. I have nothing in common with you. But our love for this movie has brought us together, and the views that we have taken from it and that we found in it have united us. I think it's magical. So thank you so much for having me on here.
Damn. Wow. Okay. Can I just say, Matt, a perfect first guest. Thank you so from all three of us.
Yes.
Thank you.
Super appreciate you coming on, sharing your thoughts, being so open and honest and just real. I could tell, you know, these are things that are meaningful to you, just like they're meaningful to us. And I think you said it so perfectly just there. That I hardly want to say much else, but I will say I definitely share in the gratitude for this, you know, religion that is, so lighthearted that it just helps us realize that, you know, this whole thing is kind of ridiculous. You know why? Like, that's to me one of my favorite spiritual practices, is try and stop taking myself so goddamn seriously all the time.
Just take it easy, man. There is a beverage here.
Take it easy. It's so much easier to laugh than to get pissed off and do something about it. You know, it's so much easier to relax than it is to be tense, right? But yet here we fucking are. So
you guys are going to be throwing rocks with this podcast, I can tell.
Oh, fucking A, man. We're excited about it. We really are. No, and I've done a podcast before, but I kind of let it fall by the wayside. But this feels bigger. This feels like kind of a little bit what Dudeism needs right now, you know, which is like a way to have these conversations in like a real-time type format, not in, you know, just written out with a bunch of quotes interspersed to break it up, but like in a meaningful way where we can talk about deeper things that people can take back and, you know, enrich their Dudeist practices, you know, because I know everyone else has other things, you know. Dudeism doesn't say that you have to do, you know, like certain religions say, oh, you have to pray this way, you have to think this way, these are all the truths you have to believe. Dudeism is like, no, like you can believe a whole bunch of things, but like the main thing that all brings us together that we believe is taking it easy is a lot better than, like Cal said, being a big ball of fucking anxiety all the time. So however that needs to happen, fucking A, man, let's figure that out together, you know? So anyway, I also want to express on behalf of all three of us tremendous gratitude to anyone who made it through this whole fucking hour. That's insane. That you're listening, that we're doing this. This is being broadcast out to the world at some point. And yeah, let us know. I'll probably set up a Facebook group so we can get some feedback or whatever. But like I said, if you want to be a guest, hit us up. If you think we're a bunch of idiots, save it. So maybe
And I
like
want to
write
go ahead
it.
and throw this out here. Matt, you just let me know when you want to fly me out to you to officiate your wedding. I think you'll appreciate it. We do shots, we drink the whole time. Everybody just wants to get the reception. Like, we'll just start it at the beginning. So you just let me know, buddy.
Oh, totally, man. Hey, we'll have In-N-Out cater it. And
Fucking A.
Yeah.
My dude.
Dude,
My
Skits,
dude.
you'd be a fantastic fucking minister. That's awesome.
I've done
All
a
right.
few. I've done a few weddings and they're amazing.
I believe it, dude. All right.
No,
Well, I don't know if we're gonna sign off the same fucking way every time, but I don't know what to say. The dude abides. Take her easy. See
I
y'all.
think I'm gonna
easy.
go with I think I'm gonna go take her easy.
All right. Take her easy, everyone.